At KSMO Radio 1340, time for us to get together with Hospital Administrator Kasey. Lucas, good to have you, my friend.
Good morning.
Glad you're here, making it in.
Yes. It's busy morning, but
It's always busy.
always make time for you, Stan, and this is very important for the community.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, we had an afternoon meeting, which I really like that. That's good. We ought to do that more often. But anyway.
We talk about that every time, and I wish, man, if I could make that happen, I would definitely do that.
A lunch meeting would be nice, but especially with all the sports and stuff we do, it's a lot easier to get there at noon than it is sometimes at 6 o'clock in the evening. But anyway, we did have an afternoon meeting in December, and basically that's because the hospital has a lot of different functions going on. You have your doctors and board meeting and dinner, and they get together, and it all works out pretty well. And you got to get things done for the holidays, so you don't push it back too far. So they're getting kind of tying things up and getting people out of town, and a lot of different things to be taken into consideration. So we want to thank our hospital for doing that. They do a great job with that here in getting us the media being part of that. Anyway, so we had our regular meeting at noon on Tuesday, and first off, I guess, talk a little bit about this hospital month. Good numbers.
Good numbers.
But a little short on the income side, but there were some other expenses involved this month as well.
Yes, same things that yes, on a normal in a normal November we have them. Again, it's not something we budget because we don't always. I mean, we don't know that we're always going to be where we are in November, so we don't always budget that, and that's. The real big expense, and we'll get into that, but it was the PDO buyouts and some of the things that we allow the employees to do. Again, today they hit our expense. At the end of the year, we'll see a settle up of some of that because it'll come out of some of the accrued PDO that's sitting there, and we'll true up that number.
Explain to our listeners what PDO is.
Okay, it's paid days off or paid time off. We allow them if they have over.
You're using accounting lingo, and
yeah.
I may not understand it.
If they have accrued vacation time, okay. If they have over a certain amount of hours, we allow them to get paid out those hours.
Days, right.
And so. But again, there's certain criteria that they have to meet, and so they'll get a check for up to 40 hours of vacation time if they meet all the requirements. So, and it's just something nice we have done since, well, heck, 99 when I got here. We were doing that. So, if we're in a good spot, if financially we're in a good spot, and there's good cash reserves, we will allow that, and so. Although we don't budget it, so it's one of those things that'll come out differently
you
from
don't know how you can budget. I mean,
Well,
you don't know how much is really going to be there.
Yeah.
Some people take their vacations and you don't cash them out.
5 or 6 months ahead of time, you really don't know, and a lot can change in 5 or 6 months.
Absolutely, very, very. That's true. So let's kind of talk about the actual statistics for the month. Again, inpatient admissions have been riding pretty high in the last couple of months, and people are sick. They need to come in. One of those things, and we will see it later on, is a lot of those people who are coming to the emergency room are being admitted to the hospital, not always transported.
Yes.
That number continues to rise, and I think the hospital is taking more of a personal interest in those patients to make sure that they get their care close to home.
Yes, I'm going to say, just like any other business, when you have turnover of staff or there's a change in staff, your advantages, the positives, one person brings over another, or it changes the dynamic of everything, and we've seen that, and so we're seeing some of those patients stay, and again, if we can keep them close to home, that's what our goal is to keep them if we can. Sometimes they need to be monitored for a day. To see if, I'll give you the example of cardiac enzymes. We if they come into the ER and those are slightly elevated, we may put them back in an observation state so that they can say, we're observing them, we're going to repeat some of those same labs 6, 9, 12 hours later to see the trend. Are they increasing? Are they decreasing?
Down, right.
Well, you know, which that kind of gives us a direction of where to go. If they're increasing, we definitely say, okay, now they need to go,
Yeah.
and we get them where they need to go. But if they're coming down on the decline, we watch them, and maybe we just say, okay, we're going to let you go home. You need to follow up with your cardiologist and so on.
Exactly.
And some of those things, again, it is so. When I'm not clinical, I'm just saying there are some of those things that could be elevated for other reasons, and we need to make sure that the cardiac reason is why they're elevated, and when we see that, we definitely get them where they need to go.
And Kasey, a lot of times this time of year, it's stress related. You know, Christmas is a very stressful time. Holidays are. And you get family issues, or if maybe you have an illness in the family. I know my dad had undergone some open heart surgery, and you know, this is a time of year where it's right before Thanksgiving he had the surgery, and then we're still, you know, taking care of him.
Yes.
So every weekend you're spending most of your time taking care of loved ones. You have loved ones back home, but you've got to go somewhere
Yes.
else and take care of loved ones, or to take that time away from maybe your immediate family to take care of other parts of your family. And all of a sudden you kind of feel like you're getting bottled up. You can't get everything done that you wanted to get done, extra stress, and then ends up
That
somebody
affects
else
your
in the
health,
family.
yeah.
Somebody else in the family now gets sick because of the extra stress level. So, and a lot of times all that is a reboot. And I call it a reboot. Just take them away from that stress for a day and they'll be good.
Yeah.
You know, and when that happens, and they're all of a sudden, like you say, they start checking the levels and everything starts going back down. You know, say, hey, you need to watch what you're doing. Reconsider what you're doing here, you know, and take some of the stress levels away. Stress is you know, they always talk about high blood pressure being the hidden killer. I mean, it really is.
Yes.
But so is stress. Stress will drive that blood pressure
That's
up.
exactly right.
You know, stress makes you eat more of the bad foods that you don't want to. You know, it really does. And I think people lose track of that, of how much we can change our lifestyle through stress.
Oh, yeah.
Work stress, family stress, could be just stress about, you know, you might be stressed out about the time of year it is. But, you know, people have different levels. Everything affects people differently.
Different triggers that set off those
Exactly.
things.
Exactly. So very good. Well, I'm going to let you go ahead and give some of those numbers here for the inpatient admissions on the medical side, the swing bed and observation. Go ahead, sir.
All
for the
right.
month.
Well, total inpatient admissions 87 compared to a budget of 53, and then when we break that down for the different types of admission, medical, surgical, we had 56, budgeted at 38. Swing bed at 4, a little below budget, budgeted 6, and then observation up to 27. Well above the 9 that was budgeted. So
yeah, you swing bed at 4, but look at the inpatient census days on swing bed.
I know.
96.
Yes.
That's,
yeah.
That might only have been 4, but they were there for a while.
Yes, and a lot of the time what happens is you don't see an admission. If there was an admission October 30th that flowed into, you might have had another one or two that actually brought some days in.
Right,
So,
just carry over.
yeah, carryover from the month before. So you don't always see that. But yes, definitely up when you just look at those swing bed days. Again, the admissions well below, but the swing bed days 98 compared to 32 budgeted. So you know, you're looking at that, and that does affect you. Really, it gave us an occupancy rate of 42%, which is a little up from the average, but that average is up. So 39,
Right.
about 40 patients.
Well, last month really
Yeah.
helped
Yeah.
push that average. I remember we're only a few months into the new fiscal
Yes,
year, so
yes.
those averages can get skewed really quickly by a couple of exceptional months. And 42% though, that's still above where we normally are.
Yes.
You know, from previous years when it comes to acute care. So we're very protective of our people, but still a lot of census days at 315. That's still pretty high.
Yes.
Compared to the norm, which is around 205, 206,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. So anyway, but a lot of good stuff there.
So yes, definitely on the inpatient side, we saw this we've seen this increase, we've seen this trend happening, and so that was very positive. And I'm sure you're going to go to the outpatient side.
Oh, we are.
And registrations,
Right.
both registrations and ER visits were both down. But looking at the outpatient registrations, 1529 compared to 1601. Again, the budget or the average for the fiscal year is at 1754, so well below our
Right.
average.
But almost the same as last November.
Yes.
So you kind of look at that on par.
Yes.
So it's, even though it's budgeted, and you know, let's put it this way: a monthly budget is an average
Yes.
for the whole year. So, I mean, really, so maybe that 1533 from last year might actually be closer to the norm for November, but the monthly budget shows 1601. But still, 1529. But with that many admissions, you think, okay, so those people are being admitted. It has nothing to do with outpatient registration. So, unless somebody came in on outpatient registration, got in there, and they found some tests, and they're saying, whoa,
Yes.
Rennie, we got
Yes.
to do something about this. But the cardiopulmonary procedures have still remained
Oh, yes.
above normal from
Yes.
where it used to be, and so we know that there are some seriously ill people.
Sure, sure. And really, I mean, you can those cardiopulmonary, I mean, it really is dependent on your acuity in acute care. I mean, when you see patients back on the floor that may have respiratory problems, I mean, you're doing could be 3-4 treatments a day,
Right.
and you know that really comes through on these stats when you start looking at those stats. So, and you know that is one of our biggest illnesses is COPD. So it just is something that we see a lot of. When we see that inpatient volume, usually you see cardiopulmonary, and you have to say usually because there could be outliers.
Sure,
and there's
absolutely.
times that it doesn't. But for the most part, you see that happen.
Right.
So, yeah.
Laboratory tests are still okay, 7625. Not like last month we had over 10,000,
yes.
but that was a whole bunch. And then radiological procedures are still up. So we know that there's chest x-rays. We know that there's mammography still being done. A lot of different things are still being done in our x-ray department. So a lot of those procedures come because of congestive
Yes.
problems, and you got
Yes.
to take a look. So we know that. Rehab continues to be strong. Very
Yes.
strong.
Yes.
Not 700 plus they had last month, but still 676. That's a lot of rehab. And the rehab numbers will reflect the inpatient admissions.
Yes.
Not right away. And as time goes on, they'll start showing that. So,
Yeah.
very good. Surgical procedures were down. It was at holiday because of the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah. And we'll see another, December will be the same way.
Right.
So.
You know, I mean, there's always usually a reason.
Yes.
You know, somebody says, well, there's only 19. Well, also there's a Thanksgiving holiday in there, and that week is kind of shut down.
Yes.
You know, when it comes to those surgeries. Home health visits continues to be strong at
Yes.
315, and long-term care is still full.
Yeah.
They had a nice, I'd like to just kind of talk a little bit about long-term care just for a minute, because
Okay.
I know that
Okay.
they talked about their Thanksgiving dinner and stuff, and
Yes.
it really is neat. Long-term care, not only the nurses and the doctors that deal with the long-term care, but the families that come in. They really do a fine
Oh, my
job
gosh.
of making that as comfortable as home as possible. And with that Thanksgiving dinner, and they'll do the same thing at Christmas, and there'll be a lot of different things going on. You just got to tip our cap, because they do the great job of making those people feel as comfortable around family as they can.
Yeah. And I'm telling you,
Because it snowed that morning.
that day we thought we were like, oh, we just don't even know if we're going to get the crowd, half the crowd we usually get, and by noon it had melted off, and
Right.
it was.
But that first initial
Yeah.
thing that morning, it's snow. Well, I'm not going.
I can't go. Yeah. No. We thought that may be what we see, but
But it was
again,
full.
the
It was
sun
full,
came out,
right?
and yeah, it was packed. It was packed. Every seat, I think, every table was taken. So
That's good. That's so
yeah,
neat.
those families definitely come in and make our residents feel like they're not forgotten. They're not
Sure.
we just put them out. They are always in, work well with the employees back there, and again, we get a lot of compliments about those employees. And again, if you're back there, you see it.
Yeah, they're great.
And so, but I'm going to tell you this: those family members, they come in daily. I mean, they're back there daily, and they help with things. So I mean, it's feedings and things like that. That I mean, just and dependent on the acuity of those residents. I mean, you could have many of those that are need help getting fed just every meal,
bathroom or whatever.
yeah, all of
just
those
getting
things.
dressed.
And so the family really pitches in, and they come in and help with a lot of those things.
You know, and
it's
I'm
not
kinda-
always just their family; it's the other
Extended
residents as
family.
well.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because everybody becomes family when they're together that long. You know, if you're around that long, you get to
Yes.
meet everybody, and you suddenly know. And Dent County's small enough that a lot of those people know each other anyway, or they know somebody in that family. So that makes it easier. And I'm kind of going through some of this with my dad. I know it is. You know, you can imagine if you are kind of separated from your family and you're looking forward to when your family comes and sees you. And I know that, you know, my brother's done a great job of seeing my dad virtually every day. We go up on the weekends and spend as much time as we can seeing my dad doing different things. But we take care of his books and stuff. So, you know,
Yes.
we're not just going up there to visit him, but take care of his stuff and then come report back to him.
Yes.
Let him know everything's good, the house is secure, nothing's happened.
Yeah.
You know, the little things that are very important to them, and they have no way of getting there. You know, because
Yes.
they're undergoing a rehab treatment or whatever. So, you know, again, I just want to tip my cap to long-term care. We probably don't talk enough about it, but those people in there do an outstanding job. All the holidays are super special for the residents, and they really make it a nice thing, and usually have their own little Christmas over there. And it's
Yes.
pretty amazing. If you've never seen it, you know, I'm just getting it on when I see how well it's just like a well-oiled machine. It just really, really flows very nicely. And that's when I tip my cap to those people. Probably don't get enough credit because, in case we all know, it's part of the hospital,
Oh, yeah.
but it's not the part that we talk a lot about because there's not a lot of in and out.
Right. I mean, it's and really, and that speaks volumes that we've got 18 potential residents at any one time, and for the most part, we're at 100%. So there are those times where, you know, unfortunately we lose a resident, but we've got that waiting list, and that says a lot as well.
Right. So
you
we
know.
need to remind our listeners too that there is a waiting list. If you have a loved one that might be getting in that time of their life that they're looking for a place to go, maybe they can't do everything around the house anymore. Maybe they have a little bit of trouble taking care of themselves. Take a look at the long-term care out at Salem Memorial District Hospital, and you can get on that waiting list. And if they call you, you're not ready, then that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
They move on to the next,
They'll
and
move
then
on to the next one, but they'll keep you on the
Yeah.
list. They don't scratch you off because you said no, not unless you ask to be removed.
Right.
And if that is the case, then they will do so. But anyway, just wanted to kind of bring that out because we just usually don't talk too much
Sure,
about it.
sure.
So
Oh,
give
thank you.
those people a big thank you out there. They do a tremendous job.
We'll do that.
Okay, and we talked about the emergency room. You kind of touched on that. Kind of low volume out there, which it can be a good thing, you're thinking, but hopefully more people are going to the clinics and taking care of themselves rather than coming to the emergency room.
Yes, yeah, and you know, it's all about getting the correct care in the correct environment, and hopefully that's what it is. 663 compared to usually about 800 is about where we are, and so we looked back for at least 2-3 years. That's probably the lowest we've seen in that amount of time. So again, it's not a trend. Last month we were up there, and so I'm not concerned with that at this point, but definitely going to watch that and see what continues to happen there.
But for the people who came in, if they're sick, they're sick.
Yeah.
If they need to be admitted, they get admitted. That's what that's what it's all about. You had 68 patients admitted,
Yeah.
and that's still quite a lot of patients.
Yeah, and it helps. Over if we just look at last November and compared to this November, we almost 20 more admissions, and then you had 10 less transfers. So, which is a good thing. Again, if we can keep those patients here, that's what we need to do.
Right. And another reason why that the emergency room visits were down when I looked at the ambulance runs, which have been in the 220s, 230s
Yes.
lately, down at 182, and only 120 patients were transported. Well, those people would be coming to the emergency
Yeah.
room. So that's 30, 35, maybe 40 down from what it normally has
Yep.
been. And that would all be added in there, so that you'd be back over 700.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so which is good. I'm glad the ambulance runs were down, and hopefully there's not as many accidents, which that's always the scary part.
Yes.
When people have accidents. But ambulance runs, as we've talked about here before, that could be just to help somebody. So,
Sure.
sometimes that does happen. But there were 62 dry runs out of 182 calls. That's a third. That's a little high.
That's higher than it has been. So
Yeah, so that was a little scary.
Yep.
So sometimes you just have to look at a month and say it's an albatross.
Yeah. Yes. That is true.
You can't suddenly start making changes over 1 month's numbers. You'll get in a lot of trouble trying to do that.
Yeah.
So the cash flow, and the operating statement, et cetera, we're going to go into, and this end up being a loss month for the hospital. They did lose from operations of $32,494. The operating expenses, deductions from revenue, and even though the total patient revenue was up, of course, your contractuals are, they're related to that. It just kind of zaps about half of that away.
Yes. That's exactly right.
Just sometimes you have to just, why? I know we've talked about this, but it's hard. When you start looking at a critical access hospital, you bill out that much, and it's just deductions from revenue. It's just automatically taken off.
Automatically, yep. It's what we have to figure in when we start looking at expenses and other things is, well, if the revenue's not where it needs to be, we know a certain percentage of the revenue is taken away, and we have to start looking at expenses, and, that's never a positive thing to look at is, okay, where are we cutting expenses? I guess we're always mindful of expenses, but when you say above and beyond the normal, hey, we're paying attention to them, where do we start to cut? Where's the fat if we need to trim a
Right.
little? So,
But sometimes it's not cutting expenses. I talked
Sure.
with Chris last night, and I said, one of the things you can do is you're going to have expenses. Everybody does.
Sure.
Okay? It's one of the things is just monitoring those expenses and saying, okay, why are we so high in this area? Why are we so high in this area? Are we not strategizing this very well? Are we buying too much, too many supplies, and then we store them?
Yep.
Well, that's a waste of money. If you store things for 8 or 9 months,
all right.
If you're storing them for a month, okay, that's a quick turnaround. But don't I remember, and I was guilty of this years ago. I bought snow melt. Okay, well, you're going to have snow usually. I bought 27 cartons,
Yes.
of 60 gallon drums of snow melt. Well, we had very little snow that year.
Yeah.
What do you do with 27 cartons of snow melt? Now, it will stay for 2 years, but the amount of expense is already out.
Yep. Yeah, you're right.
Now, how do you figure that over the months? And so I was trying to solidify my ignorance there on my purchase by breaking it down by month. I said, but if you break this down by month, we only expended this much. Of course, I already knew the money was gone. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like depreciating your snow
Yes.
melt. Okay, you
Yeah.
understand where I'm
Yes.
coming from?
Yeah.
But that's how that people will try and sometimes justify numbers. Well, we can store that for 2 years, but you got to have the space.
Yes.
So if you're storing that, you may not be able to store something else that you need right away. So there's always a cost involved, and sometimes those costs we don't analyze very well. Now, after you look back and you start to say, okay, we're gonna keep this amount on hand, this amount of inventory, this amount here. Sometimes you just after a while, people lose track of that.
Yes. Yep.
And then you got to actually go back, reassess it, inventory it, and say, okay, somewhere down the road, guys, we kind of messed up here. We ordered too much.
Sure.
And might be because, and I know the hospital is like any other business, and I'm going to simplify this. If you need 100, let's just say 100 rule pads for your staff, and you order 100 rule pads every month because every month you need 100 rule pads.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you're going to electronic technology, and you're down to 40 pads, but you keep ordering 100 because it's always been done.
That's Man, that's
and all of a sudden you look in the back room and you've got 70,000.
Yeah, it's piled up.
Pads.
Piled up back there. Yeah.
And why are we still ordering 100? You don't need any more. So I mean, that's kind of, it was a simplistic example, but that's the kind of thing that does happen.
Yes, and that's any inventory, any things like that. You're trying to set those par values, those values of which hey, we'll order after this point, but when we get to this point, and that all depends on how quickly you're going to get it too.
Oh, that's
because
true.
It's got to be built into, hey, if I get to this, I know I use X amount per day, and this is going to last 10 days, and will I have my order in 10 days?
Right.
Because you want to have it just in time to do that. Again, you maximize your space, you maximize all of those things when you start setting those par values, setting those protocols of when you order and how many days it takes and this and that. And, that system takes years and years and years to perfect. But, and like you said, one thing to change it is, if something changed technology-wise, and okay, now I'm doing this instead of this, it's that adjustment, and you don't always catch that adjustment as you need to catch that adjustment. Yeah,
for a while.
Right.
And one of the places where you start talking about inventory being critical is your pharmacy department, because some of those have a very short shelf life.
Yes.
And you can't order them ahead of time, but you got to have them on hand.
Yeah.
So that's a constant looking and making sure. And of course, a lot of that has all been easy. I don't say easily because nothing's easy. But that data has all been entered, and when that's used, it does show as being used. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to get it tomorrow.
Right. And I will say pharmacies, and you can probably imagine, those are one of those areas that, they're almost at our hospital every day. Mm-hmm. So if you need something, usually we can get it. Mm-hmm. So
there have been times.
If there's not shortages and there's not, FDA, holding this back or holding that back, you want to make sure, and that is monitored daily. On a lot of those things are monitored daily, so you have to look at that. But and so we do have that wholesaler that comes in, I'm going to say almost daily. So if we need something over the night, we can get it.
But see, this is what people may not know about the hospital, because this is all has to be done constantly. This is not a once a month kind of deal where somebody goes and takes an inventory. Oh, we need to order a few plates and this for the for the cafeteria. Yeah, that might be fine. You break a few plates, you can do that in the cafeteria. You can't do that in the pharmacy. You may not have a call for one particular drug for 3 months, and then all of a sudden there's an outbreak of something, and all of a sudden you need a lot of it, and you need it now.
Yes.
And that can't happen. So anyway, but the hospital does a really good job of doing this, and they're watching their expenses all the time. And when we say that, they really are. It's a good monitoring system. There's always ways to improve, and I know that Todd's working on that with some of the things with the maintenance, trying to get more of a constant flow, quick in, first out.
Yes.
Sometimes it's a good way of doing it, but sometimes last in, first out happens because, it just came in.
Yeah.
I'm going to use it right now. Well, that's probably not the way you want to do it. But it all depends on what we're talking about and when it does come to certain things. But anyway, we're at a lost month as far as that is, and then even a little bit of tax revenue came in, wasn't too much. The operating expenses, as Kasey was already talking about with some of the extra expense that was incurred, is why this was a lost month. We did have higher admissions, and the dollar figures for inpatient was up. Outpatient was pretty much right on track.
Yes.
But with the additional expenses,
yes. Yeah.
You're going to fall a little short.
And, I will say the other major expense that was above normal is contract expense. We had some expenses. There was some turnover in some departments that, again, may have very few employees. Billing, medical records, our coding department, things that when you lose a third of your staff because you lose a person, you have to really look at that and say, well, if there are any bottlenecks in the revenue cycle for the hospital, you have to look at those areas and say, well, we just created one huge bottleneck now because we're having a third of our outflow was just affected. Because even as patients come in and they're seen in the hospital or in outpatient, whether it's a clinic or wherever, that when it's all said and done, we have to get a bill out the door to an insurance company, and so
or to the individual.
So when it hits that point of, hey, somebody's reviewing the chart to make sure all the codes are correct, make sure everything is there that needs to be there, and then So that's one aspect of it. Also, the billers to process that bill and get it out. A third of that may be gone. So you're looking at those things. We hire services to come in and help us because as little interruption in that flow is what is necessary, as little interruption. And so as we bring those contracted services in, of course they're a premium.
Sure.
You pay a premium for those. But again, it's
paying
worth
for
it.
experience.
It's worth it in the long run because
Right.
that flow, you need that flow to stay as consistent as possible. And so that revenue cycle needs to continue to move and replenish cash as it's used.
And if you are trying to replace that person, then you've got a trainee that's getting paid as that service is still there.
Yes.
So you got double experience.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So I mean that does happen, and so those are the kind of things that do happen. We understand, and I think people in any business who's ever ran a business knows that training costs can kill you, because how long does it take somebody on that learning curve to actually understand? Once they get it, it's great.
Yes.
It's like a vacation, but until they get it.
Yes.
It's not only when they do their work, then it has to be checked because they may not have gotten it right.
That's right.
And so somebody has to actually go back over it. So the training does cost a little bit more.
And if you don't take that time, and these are through lessons learned, if you don't take that time to properly orient those new employees to the process, in the long run, I mean it costs more. You lose more in that employee not being trained and ready to go and
Right.
as efficient as they can be.
Right.
And you lose more in the long run to do it that way. So.
Other expenses that were up, though, maintenance, and there's a lot of things at the hospital we know that have to be maintained. A lot of people lose sight of that, but maintenance is we have an older facility, so
Yes.
there's a lot of times maintenance has to be done.
Yes.
And some months it's going to be higher than others. You start looking at November, obviously the heating systems all have to be checked and different things have to be done. So, yeah, maintenance costs are going to go up.
Yeah.
Also, the salaries were a little bit higher,
Yes.
for the month. So,
Yes.
as you were talking about.
Yeah.
So, you take a look at all that stuff, and but I always look at the utilities.
Mm-hmm.
And when utilities are lower than they were budgeted and lower than the previous, month, I'm looking. That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
So you're keeping the doors closed, and a lot of things have to be done. A lot of parts of our hospital are climate controlled,
Yes.
so it doesn't really matter what the temperature is outside. It has to stay the same in the hospital. So you look at a lot of different things that are controllable. Supplies a little bit up, but you never know what one month does to the next. And of course, we talk about the drug costs, and the drug costs can be flittering. One
Yes.
day they can jack the costs up, and that the plan we're on helps out so much in keeping those costs down.
Yes.
but
Yes.
still, they're not cheap.
No.
Nothing's cheap.
No.
All right, let's move forward to the balance sheet. Again, a very solid balance sheet. Looking at the, your debt to equity ratio, which the auditors talked about last time, still incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And always talking about the net patient revenue, and that continues in accounts receivable to go up a little bit. Now we know, that that's going to rise, and because it's billed doesn't mean you're going to get paid that month.
Nope.
And
Nope.
especially since October was a busy month, you
Yes.
expected the accounts receivable to go up.
Yes. 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 And it will flow with the revenue. You'll see revenue if it's a high volume month. You'll see that for the next 45 to 60 days be
Higher.
up there too.
Yeah.
So
And if it's down a little bit, it should reduce a
Yeah.
little bit over time, hopefully, because hopefully you're getting paid. It does come in handy when you got to pay the bills. And again, the long-term liabilities, very, very low
Yeah.
when it comes to our hospital. When you got $12 million and you got $376,000 in long-term care liabilities, is POB 3 paid off yet, or is this the last year? Through intercounty.
I believe it is
USDA.
done
Is
at
that
this point.
done?
I think it was a few months into this
year?
fiscal year, and I think
That's
we're
a 10-year note,
yes,
right?
yes,
Interest-free,
yes.
that's always nice.
Always nice.
But I was wondering, because I thought it was done this year, and I thought it was near the end of the year it got done.
Mhm.
But so if it's already finished, that's great. So basically what you have now in your long-term liabilities is a lot of leases.
Yes.
for the most
yes,
part.
yeah.
Yeah.
And those are something consistently we've seen is probably the best for us. Is probably the best way to do that.
To capitalize your leases?
Well,
Why not?
well, and to have them as part of have them in a lease. I mean, again, you look at purchases, and you look at that at the end of, well, I'll say the CT. At the end of 5 years, you want, as technology changes, you want to be able to, update that equipment. And so, getting into that, it's not a buyout lease. We don't own the property when it's said and done. We make that arrangement that they're going to come in and get that, and at that same time we go out for bids and we look at equipment. So they don't automatically put their equipment back in. We have an opportunity to look around and see what's out there.
There's something better out
Sure,
there. Yeah.
sure. And we have, there's probably 2 or 3 major, when you look at radiology, those companies out there, GE, Toshiba, Siemens, you look at all those companies, and so you're usually comparing those same companies from year to year.
And everybody has their unique things.
Yes. You gotta really look at that. But no, so we're, we look at those things, and you're going to see those, and as equipment, as we grow, other services, you're going to see that equipment change. I'm going to say, I know we're looking forward to the next few months, and we've been looking at ultrasound machines because it is time for a new ultrasound machine, and so we're looking at options. What can we do? We're looking at options that may be a portable ultrasound with that. So actually both things were budgeted, a regular and a portable ultrasound. Again, can go quickly into the ER and look at something and know if we need to go a different direction, and that's hopefully how we use that. But something like that, you're going to see that show up hopefully in the next few months. That's where those are the things that are happening. So anyway,
well, but if we would go back into we were both in college doing accounting.
yes,
The old system, you buy something, you depreciate it for 20 years because it would probably last 10 to 20 years. Straight line method, or even increased double declining balance, or whatever you want to use. Okay.
Yes.
When you looked at that piece of equipment was going to last 10 to 20 years.
Yes.
Then you would have a residual value. I mean, if we're going back to the pure
Yes.
accounting
Yes.
model, okay. Today, your life expectancy of new technology is 3 to 5 years
Yes.
max, with very little residual value at the end of the 3 to 5 years, because nobody's going to want one that's 5 years old in technology standards.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
buy that piece of equipment straight out, $35,000, you say, well, again, I'm going to use a sample example. It's not usually that cheap.
Yes.
But let's just
Yes.
say it was $35,000 in 5 years. You would expect to get maybe 5 or 6 or 7 or 8,000. You may only get $150. I mean, it's very possible.
Yes. And that's the risk that when we don't buy, when we just have a fair market value lease, which means at the end of that period, whatever that period is, 4 years, 5 years, whatever we've agreed to,
Right.
there is that value left. And if we wanted to purchase, we'd have the option to
buy it at
purchase
that.
it just at that. Again, you're talking about machines that they start at
Yeah, 250,000.
sure, when you're looking at an ultrasound machine,
Yeah.
you're looking at 200,000 for everything, and so at the end of that 5 years, it may be worth
5,000. I mean,
Yeah,
right.
may.
I mean, literally,
It may.
they may come up with some new technology in ultrasound. That
You
all of a
never
sudden-
know when that
anymore.
from
you
that
don't.
from
But
that
years
standpoint.
ago, what I was saying is things move so much slower. If somebody was coming up with that, it was going to be developed. It was going to be tested. It was going to take 3 to 5 years to even get out on the market. You're going to have a few of the bigger hospitals doing it before it would even be available to the same
Yes.
hospital, but not anymore. Nowadays, they come up with something brand new, and bang, it's on
It's
the
out.
market today. And so, and then to keep up and you probably won't want to get the initial trial version. You probably want to wait to make sure everything's working. But if you're in a 5-year commitment, okay, you can go through 5 years with yours, but then you can look at that new piece, which has just come out. So it's a lot easier to make that change
Yes.
than it
Yes.
is when you buy a piece and then try to say, okay, well, how much is that now going to be worth when it's almost totally obsolete? I mean, who's the DOS computer anymore, right? What's it worth? It wasn't worth much.
No.
So, what I'm saying is it can happen in today's technology world. It can happen quickly.
Yes.
Very quickly.
Yes.
All right, so we do a really good job with those long-term liabilities. They're still very low. Cash up for the month.
Cash, yes, we've seen.
Up.
Yeah, the blip up. We like that. So, $100,000, right at about $100,000. Receipts were very good. We had disbursements, which were higher than normal as well.
Right.
But when you look at the two, again, we had that positive cash flow of $100,000 for the month, and that helps. So
Again, people say, how did you lose money and then have a positive cash flow?
yeah,
It's called billing.
yes,
It's
yes,
called billing. Because some things you still got to pay for them. You haven't paid it. Cash flow is just actual cash. Dollars paid and received. Very good. CDs didn't change.
Nope.
The accounts receivable went down a day in November from 61 to 60. And again, they're getting caught up. We always talk about accounts receivable because it's very important for the hospital.
Sure.
And of course, people need to know that still, 50% basically the income is Medicare. And,
Yes.
And they've been paying fairly quick, so that does
Yeah.
help. That turnaround is very nicely. And Medicaid, they had a little glitch, and they were still working on trying to get some of that money
Yeah.
back. But they got a little bit of payment there. Home health has done very well, and Blue Cross Blue Shield, of course, the other commercial insurers, and even the private pay. And of course, the private pay is you and I when it comes to paying.
Yeah.
And do remember, there is a sliding scale at the hospital. If you get a service done, you can contact the hospital, find out how much of that you might have to pay. Part of that's called those contractuals.
Yes.
That to come down. But if you also pay, like for a service within 30 days, you'll get 25% discount. That's not offered by many hospitals at all.
Yes. Yeah.
And so if you can, take advantage of that. I know I always do when I get the opportunity. Very good. So a solid balance sheet, even though it was a lost month. The lost month was pretty much explained. It wouldn't have been a lost month without a few different add-ons that had to be made because of different things that have happened at the hospital. But you know what? Those are now all in the past, and now you've got it back on solid ground. So
Yes.
we'll get ready to see what happens for the month of December when we come to January. Chief Nursing Officer report. There was an interesting little graph there, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you like that?
That's
Is
pretty.
that is
It was
our
green and red for Christmas.
Too bad we were the red. No, I'm
Yeah,
just joking.
no.
It's not bad. The red's not bad. It's just
It's just that's distinguish it from the
just
others.
marking it out. Yeah. So, really is and this graph represents our emergency department throughput communication. So when a patient comes in and they're transferred communication, when they're transferred to another department or another hospital, there are certain elements that the CMS looks at and says, hey, we want to make sure these are all in place because these vital communication. And we've worked our way up. We are still on the low end, hospital number 4, but we've worked our way up from hospital number 2 to 4. And once we get up to next couple of hospitals, I mean, we'll see a very steady. I mean, they're all very close to that 100%, that 90 percentile, and it's a very, I will say, the way they look at these data elements that they want. If you have a chart that doesn't have everything, but maybe just one of 40 elements that they're looking at, if there's one issue, that whole chart is wrong.
Thrown out, yeah.
And so it's when you have those, so many elements. When you have those, again, if you're just missing a piece on this one and a piece on that one, that's 2 charts gone. And if you're going to miss any, you hope you miss them all on the same chart, because then,
pity the
it's just
patient,
it's just
but-
one chart,
Right.
But and I say that it's never going to happen like that, but it's very, if that chart is not 100%, it shows up as fail,
Yeah.
a fail. So it's pass or fail, 100% or not, and that's where it goes.
I
So
just remember classes like that, pass or fail.
I know.
I never took one. Did you ever take one? Pass or fail time? A class?
Yes.
Did you?
Yeah.
I never wanted. I want to know what my grade was. I don't want to pass or fail. I don't want to know if
No.
I got 66 or 96. I'd like to know. If I don't understand it, 66, you don't really understand what you're doing. So
No.
you
No.
just barely get by.
Yeah.
But if I got 96, I think I gained something out of that class. All right. Anyway, very good. So
Hey.
that was explained. Yeah.
You know the doctor that graduates at the bottom of his class?
You
He's
should-
still called doctor.
Yeah.
So, you look at those things. I know when I started studying for my CPA exam that, passing grade was 70. You just had to have 70%. That's all you had to do, pass a grade. One of my professors said, you know what, study. Make sure you know. But when it comes to the test, all you got to get is 71. 70, 71,
Yep.
you're good to
That's all
go.
you gotta do.
So you're
And they
still,
don't ask.
yeah, no.
Yeah, it's like
You're
real
still-
estate.
yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
So-
When you take a real estate test, you just got to get 70. But I still want to know what my grade was. I still
Yes.
got 96 and
Yes.
98. So it didn't matter. But, and I will say this about, when you say that about doctors, even the lowest one in the class that does pass is still a doctor. But a lot of times, those people aren't the book smart people, but they're the practical. They're
yeah.
they're the real life
Yeah.
people.
I probably shouldn't have told that
Yeah,
that
no,
said
no.
gave that example, but you're true. Yeah, it's true. You when you start looking at that, patient, the bedside manner, all of that makes a physician what they
Right.
are.
My
And so-
grandfather was a doctor, and he graduated middle of his class. Okay, but when it came to when they first started, back in, that was at DePaul Hospital in St. Louis, and when they had them go into surgeries, of course, then you had these guys that were 4.0, perfect scores and everything, and they opened this person up, and all the organs were reversed in the body. Nobody's the same. You don't know how
Yes.
God's going to put your body together.
Yes.
Well, you've got to be able to identify that very quickly, and in your mind, you got to be able to reverse everything, because if the heart was on the wrong side, the liver was on, the kidneys and stuff, they were backwards, and the guy that was 4.0 couldn't do it. He's book smart. He had no idea. So
Yes.
they had to remove him and take the guy from the middle of the class, my grandfather, to come in there, and he said, well, it's just reversed. We'll take care of it. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
To him, it wasn't a big deal because the common sense came
Sure.
forward, recognition that this is what it was. Where the other guy, all he could do is see that picture in that book, and if it wasn't exactly that picture, he couldn't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
So, they learn, but now that young man learned from that not everything is going to be the same as it is in the book.
Yeah.
So you always learn. Learning never stops. Learning never stops. Always keep your mind open, because you just never know what's going to happen from day to day. And that's, I remember that story. My grandfather even told me that story. He goes, sometimes things just aren't what they appear. So don't always assume, and there's a pain somewhere, that when the doctor says, oh, that's your gallbladder or something, because that may not be.
Right.
Could be something much, much more serious, or it could be something not serious at all. But they need to take a look, and that's why sometimes they take pictures and they see some really weird things. Some of those X-rays. Find out that people have a piece of metal in them.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd that come from? I don't know. Didn't know I had it.
Yeah.
It can happen.
It happens.
It can definitely happen. Very quick about that. I had a splinter one time. I sat on a bench. I was playing baseball. Sat back on a bench, and a splinter went right in the back of my leg. Couldn't get it out. It was so deep in there. Couldn't get out. I basically surgery. I wasn't going to do that. I was playing baseball. I
Yeah.
wasn't going to take that out. I've always heard that it'll come out somewhere down the road. Came out my big toe a year and a half later. My big toe started throbbing. I'm like, what in the heck is going on? And I looked down there, and it was like festered up. So I popped that thing off, and there's that piece of wood.
Pull that out. There
Pull
you
it
go.
out.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, like, and my grandfather told me that. He said sometimes, you might find a pebble. You fall off your bike, you get a little gravel in your arm or leg or something. It'll eventually find its way out. The body is an interesting machine. So anyway, very good. Let's get back to the hospital. Stan's stories can go by the wayside. Hospital auxiliary. There you guys met. You had a bring your friend to lunch over at JB's.
Yeah.
It was a nice turnout.
It was good turnout, and very good time to socialize and just we got to take that time once in a while just to visit.
Did you guys karaoke or anything?
Nope, did not karaoke.
Just thought he might have.
Yeah, no.
A few hospital songs or whatever. I'm not
Yeah.
sure I know any hospital songs. But
No,
yeah.
And the next meeting will be February 5th, so we're skipping January. That
that's
hits right at
January 1st.
January 1st,
Yeah.
and so we're going to skip that, and it will come back in February 5th. So
Very good. And you're welcome to attend that meeting.
yeah.
And that'll be back at
Yeah.
the community center.
Community center,
Okay,
yeah.
very good. Okay, hospital foundation. A couple changes in our hospital foundation. 1 board member resigned and 4 have been added.
Yes, good participation. We had, I think we talked about this last month after.
You did.
Yeah,
We talked
SN
about-
Ball,
Right.
Andrew
There were only
Curley,
3 that were
Chris
nominated.
Holliday, and Andrew Wynn. I think Chris Holliday was still
Up in the air.
up in the air at that point. So yeah, but it had 1 meeting since then, and it was fantastic. A lot of discussion, a lot of participation. So we like to see that.
Yeah,
And then
good.
Leon Chrysler, again, has a long history
Oh,
with the hospital,
gosh, yes.
and
Board
serving on
member
the governing board for a long time, and then has served on the foundation board since its
Inception.
inception. So it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So
And we want to thank Leon for it.
Yes.
He's an outstanding man. Really enjoyed my time talking with Leon. Dancing with the Salem Stars. About half the
Yeah.
tables are sold.
About
That means
half
about
the
half the
table.
tables aren't.
I know. So get on it.
Right.
We need to.
You
If
can
you
just
guys are
contact
looking,
the hospital, and
Yep.
they'll give you all the information about the tables and locations of those tables. If you have a question, you can talk with Chris over. Who else is helping out Chris in that?
well, and anybody in
Karen can
administration
help
can.
out,
Yeah,
but-
anybody in administration can help out. So.
I didn't know if they
Yeah.
would go out. I think he was going to go out with somebody else last month. I know he went around, but I don't remember who else he went with. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was going to be Ruth Ann Parker. I
Did
think.
he go with
was-
Ruth Ann?
yeah.
Okay. But Dancing with Salem Stars, I know you're probably saying, well, did we miss it? No.
No.
This year, it's moved to January 26th at the Salem High School gym. So remember, it will
Yeah.
not be at the City Hall Auditorium. It will be the high school gym. Okay, plus the golf tournament coming up in June, and he's been sending out emails and different things to sponsors. And a lot of those are the bigger sponsors because their fiscal year starts January
Yeah.
1st, and they have to
Want them to plan, get that on the calendar,
on
get that out there.
Get that expense in for
Yep.
next year.
Yep.
Otherwise, when they budget it all out, it wouldn't be on there.
Mm.
Very good thinking. And then, of course, the entity structure. We still don't have that quite done yet. Still kind of
No.
waiting on the state and stuff.
No.
Why is that taking so long?
You
through
know,
the
they
state?
say, oh, it takes a minimum of 60 days. Well, it's been
3
well
months.
well over that. So again, they're just saying it's in the process. We say okay. They haven't asked for any additional information, or there's no thoughts that it's not going to happen. But on the same, I mean, we are still ratifying those bylaws, and so
Sure, everything else is moving
yeah,
forward. You're just
We'll
waiting.
get that. Yeah, we'll get there. So.
Yeah, and then we have a new wing ding coming up for the. That's even no sense the way it works. Wing ding for the foundation, and that's going to be in August.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Benefit concert going to be held at the Dant County Commons. Planning August 3rd. Okay. So there's going to be music. There's going to be entries for a wing off, which is
wing cook-off.
Wing cook-off, buffalo wing cook-off. So, and really, that's kind of right now. That's in the planning. That's about all we have right now, and we are working to put some entertainment together for that.
Right.
So
I was
some
already
bands
told
together for
KSMO
that.
was going to be a major sponsor.
Yeah,
I was
and that's
told that.
you'd-
I wasn't asked that.
Yeah.
I was told that again last night.
We know we can depend on you.
Yeah. Hey, it'll be fun. We'll do it.
Yes.
Anyway, it'll be a lot of fun. And, of course, in the Impact 100 grant proposal, Salem Hospital was a finalist in
Yes,
that as well.
yes.
So congratulations on that. Also, community perception, of course, Project Rise, which is really moving forward nicely with those families that they're trying to help out and get back on their feet. That's still moving forward nicely. And Chris, I know we're talking about Chris Strickland. He does a great job with that. He takes that every Monday. And that's out at the community center, the Army Healthy Dane County Hospital. A number of partners have gotten together to make that happen, and that's a great program. And
It
I'm
is.
looking forward to that being repeated over and over and over again. The Honoring Our Heroes Marathon. I mean, hospitals all over that. They have huge presence in that on November 17th.
Yeah, we love to do that. That is something. Again, we've participated in years past. Did a lot of the pre. The dinner the night before, the carb load,
The pasta
the
party,
carb load that we do, we've always been a part of that. We've been part of other things that go into that, but this year we just we stepped it up this year, and so had some definitely ambulance along with the runners, throughout the event, and then at the end we had. Our sports medicine.
Right.
I guess at the end, the beginning, anybody that needed wrapped or any of those things, they were there early and helped with that. And
but that was all in Rolla.
Yes.
So so it was all in Rolla. So when you
Yes.
finished, you started in Rolla, got wrapped, drove to Salem, ran back, and then
yes,
help
and then
you out.
if there was any needs at that point, we helped out. So
But you had aid station along the way.
Yes.
And, so a lot of neat stuff there, and want to thank all the runners and everybody involved. It's a long day.
it is.
But it's a fun day. It starts out good, and we appreciate everybody, all the members of the hospital staff that helped out, as well as all the runners too. You've got a tree at Trees and Trains.
Yes.
And that exhibit is going strong. It's a beautiful exhibit. Hope people get a chance to look
Yes.
at that. A cafeteria dedication that was made to Marty Sheehan. That was nice. That was
Yes,
talked
yes.
about 4 or 5 months ago,
Yes.
and got a nice plaque that was able to be read at the board
Yes.
meeting, and that memorial finally did happen.
Yes, it did. And Jason Edwards, our director of dietary and dietitian, gave that and again did a very, very nice job. It seems like everybody knew Marty. Again, some of the newer employees, they didn't. But I'm telling you, the longevity of our employees, they remember Marty, and I remember Marty. She had her personality. She was just a riot,
Yeah. Always has
I'd go
smile.
in and ask about something. Well, what are we having today? Well, we're having this. Well, do we think we could do this? Who do you think you are? She'd and then she'd laugh, and
That's
we'd
why I
have a
said
good
she
laugh.
always seemed to have a smile on her
Yeah.
face. Always.
So, fantastic. It was a great a great outing for the hospital. And if you come into the hospital today, you will see the plaque. It is on one of the doors, the main entry for the cafeteria.
From the hallway, right?
Yep, it's in the hallway, and it's right there. So walk by. Don't even have to go into the cafeteria, but it's right there, and you can
Should
a nice,
read it.
neat little write up
Really
of
need
it.
to read
It is good.
Yeah, very, very nice tribute.
Yes.
Christmas parade float that the hospital put in took #1 in the commercial floats.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful float. It really was. I had a chance to see that, and really was a very heartwarming float.
Yes.
So
Yep.
waking up Christmas
Yep.
morning, and the kids are on one side, and on the other side it's a soldier reading
Yep.
a letter
Yep.
from home
Yeah.
that couldn't be with his family.
Oh,
on the
that's
other side.
tough.
Yeah,
That is.
Yeah, very good. And as people have been hearing on KSMO radio, a lot of Christmas messages from our hospital staff, 11 different ones, as a matter of fact, with about 40 different hospital staff members. That's a lot of different people.
It is.
Yeah, very good. SMDH sign, there's still a little issue with the base. I understand they got a little crooked, somehow shifted a little bit, and they're still working on that. And U.S. Representative Jason Smith will be at the hospital tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Did you know that?
Yes, I
Okay,
did.
I didn't know if you knew it. I got the press release yesterday. That was be at 9.
Yes.
Yeah. If you need a copy of that, I have it.
Yeah.
I was going to print it out for you just in case, because you guys didn't know Tuesday. It's hard to tell with Jason when the schedule's going to be. Very good.
Well,
So
you know,
anyway,
he's tugged in many different directions.
oh,
and
he
that's
is.
just
He is. And a lot of times they'll say 9, they'll end up moving to 10, or
Yeah.
just depends on what might be happening prior to that. Usually about 9 o'clock, though, that's when he's getting things started. So A lot of times I'll try and get Jason in here that morning, but I got turkey talk tomorrow morning. I got to talk to people. Butterball. It's so cool. Yeah, we're going to talk about how to cook a turkey and how not to cook a turkey.
All right.
Yeah. You know how it is at Christmas time. You want that bird done right.
Just right.
Yeah. You don't want to do what they do on the Christmas Story.
Hey, our Thanksgiving turkey. I brined that thing, and it ended up awesome. It was delicious.
They have some new recipes on turkeys at butterball.com.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've not tried them, and I haven't tried all of them, I can honestly say that, but I've tried a couple of them. Oh, they're pretty tasty. So if you want a little different flavor to your turkey, they had Creole turkey.
Ooh.
I haven't tried that one yet.
I would like to.
That might be interesting.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, man, if I was just doing a turkey breast, man,
and you can do that.
I would just do that.
Because Butterball they sell just turkey breasts ready to go, already buttered, which makes it even better. Yeah, and it's really tasty. So anyway, we're gonna be talking to them tomorrow morning. Before I get hungry, we need to keep going.
I know.
All right, election filing began Tuesday. It goes to January 15th. Obviously, no filing on holidays, and this is during regular business hours at the administration department in the Salem Hospital. Yep. You have 2 openings now.
Two openings.
George's spot in District 6.
Yep.
That's coming up. That was the one that was coming up anyway. That's a 6-year term, and then AJC has resigned.
Yes.
And that space will be coming up now. So that's a 2-year remaining on his term, correct?
Yes. And we've had one entry, one filing for each district. So it's very positive so far.
You remember who they are?
Yes, I do. AJC and Mike Squires. So Mike Squires for AJ's old district and AJ for George's.
Okay. Very good. There was a resolution of time, critical diagnosis designation for the hospital that the board of directors wanted to approve of. They've done this in the past where they've approved all these different things that the hospital has going on too. And this is just a resolution that says, yes, we support that.
Yes.
That's all it is.
Yep. We just need it in the file to say that they're
on board with it.
They're on board with it.
It nothing different than that,
Nope.
No, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal because it needs to be recognized in the minutes.
Yes.
Board meeting dates were reviewed. I guess they're okay.
Are they okay with you? Did they meet your?
Well, they're all right, and they're all noon, right?
No.
No. See.
December 10th will be at noon.
Yes, it will. You never know. There might be one or other. We had one the other. Was it this year or last year that had to be held at noon because of a conflict?
Yes, there was.
And I think there was one other one that was a noontime meeting, which I really like those. Those are good. But of course, 6 o'clock is probably more convenient time for many of those people who work during the day.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Very good. Had a few purchases, and then one was tabled. A blanket and towel warmer for long-term care was purchased. That's always very important. That's a good-sized towel warmer with a warming cabinet, 24 cubic feet. That's a pretty good-sized cabinet.
Yeah.
$7,400.10 for the unit. It did cost $400 to bring it in, though.
Yeah.
But it's a big unit.
Yeah.
It's already put together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not going to try and come here and put it all together, but it will be installed. And then the laboratory, a blood bank incubator and workstation. I didn't realize how old ours was.
Yeah.
It's been around for a year or 2 or 10 or 20.
Yeah.
And need to be replaced. And you got that under budget by $1.
Yes, by $1. We made fun of that. But
anyway, yes, $4,999 for that blood bank incubator and workstation. And, of course, that's in the laboratory. And it's very important to have a working blood bank incubator. You want to make sure that it's working right.
It's you look at it there. We've got an alarm back on acute care that if that temperature in that incubator goes below a certain point, not critical point at that stage, there's an alarm that goes off back at acute care, and they can get people in here to let's we got to do something. So
yeah, you don't want that to freeze.
No,
I don't know. No, you don't want to get hot either.
No,
you don't want either one. So very good. And then a cardiopulmonary BiPAP machine. Now this is for non-invasive. You can get You have machines for invasive and non-invasive.
Yes.
This one was just for non-invasive.
Yes.
That the board was looking at. However, there was some discussion as to, can we do invasive?
Yeah, can we do?
You know.
Do we want to?
I mean, if you have to, you could do it.
Yes.
But an invasive is actually, meaning the tracheotomy,
Yes.
going and doing
Yes.
a trach and having to run different things instead of the non-invasive.
Yes. And the thing is, I mean, we do have a ventilator. I think that's the question for me is, if we have the ventilator, I could probably count on, since 99, I can count on one hand the amount of times we've actually used it.
Mm-hmm.
In case of an emergency, we have it, and we
Right.
can, I'm going to say in the last 5 months we've had that, and that we've used it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference in that, and a difference in, are we going to maintain that? Is that going to be something that we expect on a normal basis to happen?
Right.
And then there's a lot of things that training, competency for not only our own cardiopulmonary or RT people, respiratory therapy people need to be proficient and but also a lot of the nursing staff has to be proficient at that, because at night we have one respiratory therapist on at any one time. If something goes wrong there and something goes wrong in the ER and you can't get everywhere at one time, and we've got to have some redundancy there in that staff, so, or at least that competency to deal with that. So those were some questions that came up, and we're checking into exactly what the medical staff, what the nursing supervisory people are we're having that discussion, starting to have that discussion.
Would you have to get an additional or ventilator if you did go with the invasive, just in case? Or
No,
would
I think
one be enough?
I think one would be enough. But yeah, that's always something we,
I mean,
you
if
look
you're
at.
using the one
yeah.
and somebody else comes in.
Well, and those, you can if everything in a
I know.
rural
If it's a
facility,
death, yeah.
you got 10 people that, well, okay, we have 10. Well, okay, what if that 11th person? Well, what did we do in the past? Because, you have to start looking at,
You
okay,
actually had 10 come in one time in the past?
you know what I'm saying.
I know. You can if things to death, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't accommodate everything. Well, you go into closed session. Any votes?
We did. Last month we had voted, the board had voted, there was a request for the city to start their water line extension.
And sewer line extension.
But basically focused on the water line.
Right.
Could they start that in what they are considering to now be phase 1, which starts at Highway 72 and moves east over to the existing well, there. So there was we voted no initially, and then they voted, well, we've got some questions, let's come back with some answers.
Right. And so you had Jack Emery and Jeff from Archer Engineering.
Jeff
come on.
Meadows from, and they came in and answered all of the questions, and I think to the extent that the hospital board voted in favor of doing that, starting with phase 1.
Satisfied with those answers.
Satisfied with that. So,
okay.
So that was the only vote.
Wow. And that was approved.
Yes,
Okay.
that was approved.
Very good. All right. Well, Kasey, as always, we thank you for coming in, spending some time with us here. And, of course, those hospital board meetings are open to the public. You are welcome to come on out and be a part of it if you'd like to be. And it's usually it's always the third Tuesday after the first Tuesday after the third Monday.
Yes.
But in this case, for the holiday, it had to be a little bit earlier, and of course, so many things going on, so it was done a little bit earlier. But we thank Kasey for coming in, and you're welcome to those. They're in the hospital library at 6:00 on those Tuesdays.
Yes.
And of course they're read on the on KSMO. Put them in your of the day, and I'm sure Salem News gets them out in time where you could go if you want to. You can always check that out, or you can just call the hospital and just find out when the next board meeting is. You can check that out too. And you're welcome to attend and find out more information about kind of. We try and break it down here a lot. So so
go into more detail.
Yeah, longer than the meeting was actually.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We also had some stand stories in there, so it's.
Those are the highlight of
But
this.
yeah, I know. But anyway, we want to wish Kasey and his family a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And of course, we'll be doing it again next year. We continue to give you as much information about your community as we can. That's why we started this almost 11 years ago. Do you realize that? 11 years ago, we started doing the interviews with Dennis, and he wanted to do them.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised he wanted to do them. But
well, after my short time away from the hospital, and I came back, and he was saying he was doing these, I immediately was panicking because I knew I'd have to at some point go on, and it is not. Yeah, it is.
We have fun.
It is.
We
it is.
try
fun.
and have fun, but it's a serious.
It's informative,
yeah.
and I think you do a great job. Again, thanks for everything, and I want to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas, and everyone out there. Be careful. With all the travel, with all the weather, the changes in weather, be very careful out there. And hope
watch
you have
the flu season and wash your hands. I mean, we are at that time. And, last year, when I was talking to Kathy Haynes about it, we didn't get hit with that flu season until after Christmas.
Yeah.
And then we got hit twice.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, guys, watch those travels because you go over there and you may not think you're doing anything wrong, and you aren't doing anything wrong. A lot of times you can catch something on a plane. You can catch it just by going to a strange town where they actually have an influx of maybe the flu. You don't even know. You touch something, next thing you know, you've got it and you're bringing it back. So just watch that. And if you do get the flu, just watch it. Hopefully you've got your flu shot already to kind of ward off some of those symptoms. But if not, please get one. No better time to get it than right now for the holidays. All right, my friend, thank you very much. That's Kasey Lucas, Hospital Administrator, right here on KSMO Radio. Stick around. We do have coming up very shortly our Civic Record.
What is a great Christmas gift that almost everyone can use? A gift certificate from Knight Auto Care in Salem, of course. Whether it be for service to a vehicle or even a trip through Fast Loop, Knight Auto Care has a perfect gift not only for friends but family as well. So quit scratching your head and pick up your gift certificate from Knight Auto Care in Salem today on Highway 3272 East or call 729-5761 for more information. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from everyone at Knight Auto Care.
During the hustle and bustle of the holiday season, don't neglect your health. Call your community health center today to schedule a quick and easy checkup. Your community health center accepts same-day and walk-in appointments to meet all of your health needs. Give them a call at 573-426-4455 to schedule a checkup today, or stop by 1081 East 18th Street in Rolla, your community health center.
Have you hit or been hit by a deer? Need to have your vehicle fixed? Well, the only place you'll want to take your vehicle is to Larson Collision Center at 503 North MacArthur in Salem, where right now they're offering 20% off your deductible if you've had an accident with a deer. Larson Collision Center offers free estimates and all their work is guaranteed. Stop by and let Larson